Real happy to see you, man.
Man, I appreciate you inviting me into your space.
No doubt,
I
bro. No
do, man.
doubt. It's been last time we saw each other was June.
Was it June?
It was June, bro.
I felt like it was like August though.
Oh no, it was June.
And that just goes to show the like sense of time. It just the time is flying.
Facts.
Because I definitely felt like it was August.
Man, your month's flying by, bro. Your month's flying by. How you make your months go so fast?
I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily know that's a good thing. I might need to slow down a little bit.
You moving, bro. You moving. So, everybody, this is Dewane Mutunga, and he's somebody that I consider a friend. I only met you one time before today, and it's like we met, we clicked, and like we just been following each other, keeping up with each other on the gram. That might be why it feels like just August too, because it's like you get to see that person
every day.
Yeah, you get to see that person, and so man, I'm able to pick up and learn a lot from people just by spending a few minutes with them, man. And I learned so much from you when we were shooting, for the disc thing, and I took the disc assessment, and like it was like you knew me instantly. I was like, dang, all my secrets out there.
Yeah, it's like that sometimes. It's a very telling, right? A very intimate sort of experience. It depends on how you approach it, right? If you take anything surface level, but I've realized the impact that something like this can have on a person's life if you really take the time to make the dots connect, right? If the conversation and the dialogue is meaningful, then the experience the person walks away from with it is going to be just as meaningful. So I'm grateful, and it brings me joy to hear that you took that from, that conversation that we had.
For sure, man. I'll tell you something else I took away from it. And it's actually kind of like a question that I wonder about.
What's that?
It's like after I took the disc assessment, I started trying to like look at everybody in that way. But I feel like I went on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like you talked about meaningful conversation, and it was like, I'm just listening to people to figure out, how they click. Like, and I'm asking questions just to figure out if I can guess what their disc is. But like, was it like that for you? How'd you get into it?
Yeah, so for me, it was interesting. So a little backstory. So I actually got into coaching in 2014, right? I went through some training. I went through the training first and then trained on the opposite end. So it was really interesting to experience it firsthand, because if I've not done it before, then I don't know what the person sitting in the seat across from me is experiencing. So I went through the experience first and then started training. And then from there, I went through training, I would say, for probably about a year, maybe a year or two. And I actually got my first like one-on-one client, because these were group settings that I was doing trainings in. I got my first one-on-one client, I want to say 2016. And I've been coaching since. Now, as it relates to DISC, right? That started in 2017. God rest his dad, Chris Daniels. He did my DISC assessment with me. Now, I had heard of it before, but not really did anything with it. But Chris did my assessment with me, and I'm a 99D, and Chris was a D. And so it was so interesting to have somebody who mirrored my actual style. Like I saw myself, I felt myself. And it was almost like your more mature self speaking to you in this moment about what you needed to do to evolve. And from there, that was 2017, and I studied my assessment. I studied myself every day for 2 years before I ever worked with anybody around the assessment. So people look and they're like, yo, man, how do you see that stuff? And how do you just know? And how does this stuff make sense to you like that? And the only thing I can say is just, I took the time to learn myself, to study myself, right, through this instrument. And in doing so, I learned about other people. I began to ask questions like, why do I do this? Like, where did this come from? Or why do I behave this way? And so when I'm working with a client, it allows me to see them through the assessment in the same way. And with anything, it's repetition. So the more that you do it, it's pattern recognition. So I can just look at a person's assessment now and I got it.
So you're saying that because you took the assessment, you trained in the assessment, and then you got to know yourself through the lens of the assessment. Because of that, without experiencing what other people have experienced, you could look at their assessment and read their mail.
Right. So here's the thing, the assessment is objective data. So we can't argue the data because the data is scientifically proven, right? This is data and you input the data. So I didn't give it to you, you put it there. So I can tell you the conclusion of the story, but you have to tell me the inception. You have to tell me, okay, where did this come from? I can tell you, I know that you're very structured, but when was the first time that you felt like you needed to be structured? Why did you feel like you needed to be structured? And you have to fill in the gap of your lived experience.
Gotcha.
The lived experience then ties to the data, and now
you know.
Now I know everything makes sense. So it's just a matter of asking questions. And in the process of me studying myself, I had to ask questions and dig and debunk and, well, where did you get this from? Well, why did you take this? Or when was the first time you felt like you needed to protect yourself or do this? All of that was revealed to me through me asking questions because of the assessment. And so one of my favorite, just sort of concepts is to remain in the question. Just keep asking. Well, where does this come from? Okay, well, where did that come from? And why did you think this, or how did you connect this to this? And from there, you learn by a sense of self-discovery. And so that's a muscle that you develop. So now when I coach people, I can coach from a very true, authentic space because I've found that place in myself. So I know how to guide somebody there. I can teach somebody how to fish because I learned how to fish.
Right.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's deep, bro. Hold on. So, bro, stuff can go over my head sometimes. So, you essentially are saying that, like, as a coach, like, you've had to ask yourself certain questions. How do you know what question to ask? Like, how did you get into, were you always like a self-reflective person? Because, I can imagine even for myself, like there's answers to certain questions about when something started or when was the first time. I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I think I've always been introverted. I've always been introspective. I've always been a reflective person. Like, I have to have time to reflect and process on my day. And it's actually funny. It's like a running joke. Like, Nikki, a mutual friend of ours, Nikki says if processing was a person, it would be me. Like, I'm always like, even in real time, and I don't even know how to explain it, but when I'm speaking to a person, I'm literally responding to how they are moving and adjusting in real time. Even when I speak sort of with like a delayed cadence, not because I'm trying to do that, but I'm literally pulling and processing everything in real time. And I've always sort of attuned myself to the person that I'm communicating with. So one of the questions when I went through my training, right, and this was, the style of coaching was like transformational coaching, and transformational coaching through discovery, right? And one of the questions that I learned through that process I learned to ask myself in that process is, what are you pretending not to know? Like we so often go to, oh no, I don't know. Or where did that come? Oh, I don't know. That's not true. Anybody that says they don't know, they haven't taken the time to be still, to be present, to be grounded in themselves, to find the answer, because all the answers are in here. A lot of times we're being sped up by the world, we're being distracted, and it gets us away from ourselves. But if we take time to be still, to be present, and just ask questions, the answers are there. So what are you pretending not to know? And then from there, you just start asking the questions. Well, why don't I trust people so easily? When was the first time I felt like I needed to guard myself or protect myself? And then you start to go back in your lived experience and go, well, this thing happened. And I didn't really understand then, but it's showing itself all these years later. And when we do that in enough areas of our lives, it starts to create a picture, a more comprehensive picture about who we are and why we behave the way that we behave.
Dang, like, dude, that's crazy. I'm trying to do that now. Like, as you're telling me, I'm just like following the process. Do you have that written down anywhere? Like that's a very descriptive way of doing that, and it seems like it comes so naturally to you. But for a lot of people, I'm sure you've worked with people who don't have as much practice as you do doing it. Like it seems like naturally, like you're a processor, right? You're a natural processor. So I just can't wrap my head around
But I think it goes back to those initial conversations that we had where we talk about, even in the assessments, there's personality types that people are wired a very particular way.
Right.
And I think that when I look back on my life, I was wired this way. Like the thing that I'm doing right now, I was built to do this. Right. So it's effortless to me. Right. I remember going through the process of getting certified, and the person facilitating was talking to me about this concept called triple mastery. Right. And so in this particular part of the assessment, right, it's founded on the study of axiology, which is how the brain processes information, how the brain processes its internal world and the external world. Basically, in what order do you process information? And when the facilitator was telling it to me, like, I found myself getting really, really like emotional. Like I had like water, like the tear wouldn't drop, but I had water like bulging out of my eye. And I'm like, this was the first time somebody gave me language to describe something that I felt my whole life but didn't know how to articulate.
Wow.
Right? When I was younger, I had a speech impediment.
Right.
I was processing so much information. I remember my mom took me to see this like specialist, and they had me like playing the piano, and somebody was talking to me, and they were like showing me like ink blotches, and then somebody was talking to me, and maybe like 5, and I remember when we were leaving, the person was like, nothing is wrong with him. He's just processing his environment much faster than he's able to physically articulate. And so growing up, like it wasn't even a stutter sometimes. Sometimes I literally would freeze, like I couldn't get the words out, but my brain was active. What I learned getting certified, studying behavior, human behavior, was my brain is processing people, like the environment, like what's going on down the line and what's happening right now all at the same time. Whereas most people, their brain is processing one thing first, and then it triggers into others. I'm picking up the people in the environment, what's happening right now, and then the implications of the actions of right now, all at the same time. So my brain is soaking up information, is soaking up stimuli. And I thought it was a curse. Like my cousins would make fun of me, kids were like, but it was really a blessing. So my ability to read people comes from something that is innately a part of who I am. Then you couple that with my lived experience. I grew up in the Bronx during the crack era. So it's a lot of violence, so you had to learn how to survive outside. You survived outside by learning how to read people, learning patterns, like, oh, okay, like, so these are skills that I just developed. I told you I learned how to play chess. A lot of success with playing chess is pattern recognition and learning how to play moves ahead, anticipating, right? All of this goes into just, it all feeds into my natural makeup. So when you look at my assessment, I'm built, the way I am built, my personality type, I'm built to coach people, right? I'm a 99D, which means I'm an executor, I'm very assertive. My next highest attribute is my S, my stability, my pace, my ability to support a person through the process of executing something. That's the epitome of what a coach is, to guide, to advise, to support a person. So when people ask me, like, just how do you do this? I'm like, I can't really explain it, but it's just a part of who I am. But because I've had time to reflect and I've paused, I can give you all of these details back to when I was 5 years old as to why I do what I do now. Yeah.
That's hard, bro. That's dope. That's really dope.
Yo, what's goody, fam? Listen, I know. I'm going to let you get back to the episode, but I wanted to take a minute to let you know about the Human Behavior Mastery course. Yes, we have a course that we put together for coaches, consultants, corporate leaders, and entrepreneurs. I know you're listening to the pod and it's all of this numbers and the adaptive and the natural, the D, the I, the attributes. We put together a comprehensive course to walk you through exactly how to understand each one of the personality types, each one of the values, and we're going to show you exactly how to get the most out of each type. What things you need to avoid, what environments to put you in, and what pieces to put around you to be successful. So if you're looking at taking your business, your life, or your relationship to the next level, make sure you go check out the Human Behavior Mastery course. Back to the episode.
Okay, so I believe that, and I think you had an Instagram, reel where you were talking about, and get me straight if I get it wrong, but what I took from it was like, we all have things that make us great, and what comes with those things are blind spots.
Right. So I don't like the word weakness, right? Like blind spot is more natural, right? But here's the thing, like, blind spots are natural, but weaknesses are manufactured, right? And what I mean by that is, with every gift that you have a corresponding, like, blind spot, right? There's the gift and the curse. There's yin and yang. There's balance.
Right.
But a weakness comes from you ignoring the fact that this is a blind spot. And when you sort of continue to invest energy in that, you create a weakness that doesn't have to exist, right? So if I know that I'm not detail oriented and I continue to go like, okay, let me just keep going and going, but I don't put anything in place to complement the fact that I'm not detail oriented, it becomes a glaring weakness.
Right.
But if I go, hey bro, listen, I know you're really good with structure. Can you look this over for me? The blind spot that I have naturally now is complemented because I've not ignored it, but I've fed it.
Right. So
the analogy that I always give is that of Superman, right? And if you read anything into Superman, you know that Superman is a normal person on Krypton. And his parents sent him to Earth, right? Because the Earth's atmosphere would be better for him. So Superman is only super because the Earth's sun is younger than the sun on Krypton. And the younger sun, the rays, it soaks up his skin and it makes it strong. And he's super fast. He gets all of his powers because it's powered by the Earth's young sun. But if you take Superman off of Earth, he's not super anymore.
Whoa.
Right? So in the last Superman movie, they came and on the spaceship, they like drowned out the sun. So when he went on a ship, he was like a normal person. He was bleeding. Things that you never saw Superman do.
Yeah.
And I think that we often put ourselves in these environments where we can appear weak because we're comparing ourselves to other people. Like, oh, they're great at that, and I'm gonna go try to do that. But you're operating outside of your zone of genius. So I always coach and advise people like, what is your source? What is the thing that makes you super? For Superman, it's the sun. But then there's an environment that is going to be conducive to you staying super. So Superman could leave Earth's atmosphere and still be connected to the sun. But we love him as Superman because on Earth, we're mere mortals. He looks like the best thing since sliced bread.
Right, right.
So that's where you get celebrated for the thing that makes you unique. So my thing is find your source and then find your Earth, whatever that is. Your Earth could be a person that you partner with. Your Earth could be an environment, like whatever it is, go there and stay there. And then the things that you are weak at, right? Because Superman's super, but when he's near kryptonite, he buckles. We be paying too much attention to the kryptonite because we worrying about what somebody else is doing. And if you look at every superhero, they have a strength, but they always have a blind spot. Always.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. So how do you're basically saying a weakness is manufactured because we choose to ignore the blind spot.
Yep.
And us ignoring the blind spot is us either trying to build on a weakness that we think that we have and thinking that like we can overcome that ourselves.
So the manufacturing the weakness part can come from ignoring it, right? Or investing too much energy into it. So ignoring something, my thing is if you're sick and you don't treat it, it doesn't go away.
Right.
It festers, it grows.
Right.
It gets worse.
Right.
At the same time, if that's all you focus on is trying to, oh, I want to make this better. You're already not good at it.
Right.
So there's the law of diminishing returns. At some point in this area, you're just not going to get too much better.
Right.
This is where collaboration comes into place, right? If the Avengers were so sweet by themselves, they wouldn't have needed to be the Avengers to beat Thanos. They needed everybody. You bring your power to the table, I bring my power to the table. Collectively, we was able to get him, but individually, he would have smoked every single one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's the same way. We have this society where we focus on what's not good about us because we're looking at somebody else versus being grateful and utilizing the gift that we was given.
Right. Random question, not so random. Marvel or DC?
Marvel all the way. Marvel all the way. I mean, bro, it's too much. Like, I mean, DC got Batman and Superman. Those are Batman is the coolest.
Yeah.
Superman, he's a beast. He's corny, but he'll give you some work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Marvel just got everybody, bro. X-Men, the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like the list goes on. They got all of the real characters that get busy. So, and I'm a Hulk person. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hulk
yeah.
is my
Hulk.
vibe.
Hulk is pretty dope.
Yeah, Hulk's
Hulk
my
is
guy.
pretty. I could see him being your guy.
Yeah, I often compare myself to Hulk. The duality of being Bruce Banner and then the flip side being Hulk.
When did you start like identifying with it, or seeing like a connection?
It was in the process of me studying my assessment. So when I studied my assessment, right, my profile is sort of a unicorn profile, meaning like my my key areas are juxtaposed to each other. So when you look at somebody who is typically a high D, this is a very dominant personality, very assertive or aggressive, very strong. That represents the Hulk, right? D's are great for getting stuff done, but it's not going to be the prettiest. Like they come through in the clutch when it's a crisis, when you need to just bull through something and make it happen, right? On the flip side, completely juxtaposed to that is the S. The S is very cool, very calm, very collected. You know, you don't really see them with too much emotion. They're very poised and calculated. They're process oriented, right? And so I sort of vacillate between both of those. Like when everything is cool, I'm cool. But the moment something happens, you'll see me shift right into the Hulk. And I as I evaluated my lived experience, I was like, oh, okay. I see that about myself. I go from 0 to 1,000. I go from start to stupid in 2.2 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it comes from an environment where you feel like you have to protect yourself because you'll become prey. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to assert yourself or else you become a victim.
Right.
And so I only want peace, but sometimes I have to get peace through war.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I always connected to the character of Hulk through the duality of him being this brilliant, nice person, but having to tap into this almost psychotic rage in order for him to get back to being peaceful. Because he only turned into the Hulk because somebody was taking advantage of him. And that was just something that I felt very tied to personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I was watching, I don't know how much you watched Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
But I think on one of his specials, he was saying that his mother told him one time that sometimes you got to be the lion to be the lamb you are.
Yes.
And like that resonated with me a lot because I am, bro, all I want is peace, all right? All I want is peace. I just want to be able to do my thing with or without people preferred, but like without people preferred, but you know, I'm young in like the entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah.
And that's when like it really hit me that like you need people if you want to fulfill because you do have blind spots. So like I realized I had blind spots. I realized that I can't physically do it all. And through that, I learned like how to communicate with people. After taking the DISC assessment, I did some research on it, and I'm more I have a different approach. Like my mindset is different. I attribute everything to a person's personality. And it's like they're gonna do what they're gonna do, like based on who they are, and I have to get to know a person to put them in the best position to win on my team. And some people aren't a good fit, and it's not their fault. We just don't hoo-ha, you know what I'm saying? Right. We just don't hoo-ha. Right. And that's very different than I used to be. Like I used to have a very, I would say for lack of a better term, combative attitude towards people who I couldn't work with. And dude, that's drastically changed.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that, well, it's one of the things that I definitely want people to walk away from when they take it, right? My thing is, how can we use our difference to make a difference? Right, so figuring out the puzzle piece that we are together. When you realize that, and this was really, this was a healing part for me. Everybody's doing their best.
Facts.
Even when they're doing foul, messed up stuff, they're doing their best, right? Because here's the one truth that I've learned. It's not even people's personality. Some people don't even know why they're the way they are. What I realized is everybody is doing what they do to make themselves feel safe. And when you realize that this person is operating this way simply because they want to be safe, instead of looking at it like this person is doing something to me or they're being annoying, you have a level of compassion because of the understanding. When I understand that you're doing this because of your lived experience, because you're trying to make yourself safe, I go, oh, I get it. I can extend you compassion as opposed to being annoyed at, man, why you talking so much?
Right,
that talking might be a defense mechanism. That talking may be your way of deflecting discomfort in some way. And there's really no right or wrong. It's just what is your way. And so when you're working with people, it's not a right or a wrong. It's, does this way work best in this situation for what we're trying to achieve? Yeah. So again, how can we use our differences to make a difference? But there's no right or wrong. There is no good or bad.
As you're saying that, I remember you talking about like your greatest fear. And I want you to share that. Right. But like I use that to explain to other people how I operate. Yeah. Because my biggest fear is creating something that's trash and it lasts forever. That's my fear. That's why you probably been seeing me like looking, feeling on my pocket. Right. I want the audio to be straight. So, I've been like looking back at the camera, like
right. Because you're a high C, right? And and so that's the like understanding. Everybody has a biggest fear, and we all operate from our biggest fear. Right. You are a high C. A high C's biggest fear is criticism. That's why high C's are perfectionists. They take their time, they're meticulous, they're systematic, they're exact and precise, right? You want to measure twice and cut once because your biggest fear is investing all of yourself into something only for it to be criticized or mocked or ridiculed in some way. Yeah. And when you understand that, I go, okay. So when you're asking a bunch of questions, I'm not like offended, like, man, like, why is he asking me so many questions or whatever? I know, like, he's trying to gather information so that he can make sense of this so he can feel safe and secure. Right. You get what I'm saying? So I'm a 99D, right? So if you're a D, your biggest fear is being taken advantage of or being made to feel insignificant or being manipulated. So a D is very assertive, is very demanding, is very driving in what they do because they're trying to protect themselves from being taken advantage of. So the question I had to ask myself was, when was the first time you felt unsafe? Or when was the first time you felt like someone took advantage of you? And I realized like, oh, this started in my childhood. Like, again, I said I grew up in the Bronx during the crack era. Like, my environment outside was chaotic. You understand what I'm saying? Like, even if I went before that, my parents split when I was like 3. I was very young. So that's disruptive to the home and it's very, you're trying to make sense of stuff. So my father was I was a daddy's boy. You know what I mean? That was like my protector. I felt unguarded, right? In that situation. some years later, one of my older brothers got killed. When my father left, he took over the protector role, but now he got killed. So now I'm like, oh, okay. Like, this world is not kind. And my brother was a teenager when he got killed. So it was me processing like, oh, kids can die.
Wow.
Oh, so now I have to.
That's crazy, because at that age, you don't think that.
Right.
That's
so
crazy.
when I tell people, like, I'm asserting, I grew up in a very violent, animalistic, dysfunctional environment. And when you're in the jungle, you do as they do in the jungle, and you protect yourself and you assert yourself, because what you don't want to do is be looked at as prey. So in order to get peace and to be left alone, you have to, it's like, you ever see a dog and they show teeth, they growl before they, you got to show teeth. You know what I mean? It's almost, there's this thing in Japanese culture, there's the warrior in the garden, this idea, right? And it says it's better to be a warrior who knows how to be peaceful than a peaceful person that doesn't know how to fight in war. Right? And so I've always taken that on, and like, I'm prepared for whatever, but I want to keep things chill. But when you know that about a D, when you see a D being assertive, you don't go, man, this dude is like so cut and dry and like pushing and pushing. You realize like you want to disarm me by like, yo, everything is cool, man. Just relax and now I'm at ease.
Yeah.
A high I, right?
Yeah.
These are like the people that, like the stars, they're always making sure everybody feels good and appreciated. They know how to work the room. They're super social, right? They want people to feel good and appreciated, because a high I's biggest fear is being rejected. So it's like, when was the first time that you felt rejected? How did that make you feel? And so because you felt that way, you never want anybody else to feel that way. That's why there's so much into people. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With a high S, the high S is very cool, calm, collected. They want everything to sort of just flow and be cool. And that's their approach, because a high S's biggest fear is lack of stability, loss of security. So they want everything moving slow, everything chill, because when things start to move really fast, they get anxious. That's their way of combating things. So if you see somebody and they're super chill, you don't get upset like, man, you don't take anything serious. That's how that's how they remain safe, by pacing things. Let's take our time. And so when you have this understanding about people, again, it allows you to deploy compassion, because everybody has insecurity, everybody has flaw. So instead of looking at the person across from you like, why are you doing that to me? You realize it doesn't have anything to do with me at all. This person just wants to be seen, just wants to be acknowledged, just wants to be understood, and just wants to be celebrated. That's it. And I think when you take that approach, relationships become better. You become better with yourself. It just makes everything, and I can't help but to see the world that way now.
That's dope. That's powerful, man. So when it comes to like building your business,
right,
and hiring or building a team around you, I know that it matters.
Oh yeah.
I know that it matters. Can you like break it down a little bit? Like, give some roles or something, man.
Yeah, no. So like, I work with CEOs, I work with executives, and like, I support them in either dealing with their team if they already have folks on a team, or if they're trying to hire. I'll work with them on how to pick the right person for the right position, right, or for the right role. And so, when a lot of times, if you think about the standard like experience, people see a job posting, they apply for a job, they get interviewed. You don't take assessments and you don't take things until you get into the role, right? But I believe that fit is the most important thing, because I can teach you the skills that you need to be successful. I can send you to personal development to learn these things or develop ability and competency. I can't teach you how to fit into this culture. I can't teach you how to have human skills that those are innate things that you just have, right? And culture is the most important facet of growing any business, family, team. What core values do we have? What beliefs do we have? What environment, what type of energy do we have, right? And most people manufacture weakness because they hire themselves. Oh, I like you. Oh, you're just like me. Yeah, and you hire somebody and you duplicated the weakness now.
Right.
As opposed to hiring somebody who's different that can complement you.
So in what ways could you, like, is there a situation, I'll just tell you for myself.
Right.
I imagine that that if I want another DP or cinematographer,
Right.
I'm looking for someone that's like me, to be that person, to do the shooting, to like do the operational part of what I do.
Right.
I feel like I need to find another person like that. Do you agree with that, or do you think so, or?
If you plan on operating in the business, I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
If you plan on removing yourself, you can duplicate yourself.
Replace yourself with
If you want to replace yourself, that's fine.
Okay.
But if you're still planning on shooting and you make somebody else, you hire somebody else that's like you,
Yeah.
it's like, for what? If anything, you want to hire somebody who's the opposite because they bring different things to the table. So for me, like, I know I'm very introverted and reserved. I'm a low I. So I surround myself with people who are high I's because they're going to bring energy. They're going to be smiling. I've been told I don't necessarily look approachable because I'm usually just like, to myself.
Yeah.
Right? But somebody who's going to greet you with a smile. So sometimes it's situational. You wouldn't hire a high D for customer service because they're going to offend people most of the time because the high D cares about reaching the numbers.
Right.
A high I cares about making sure people feel good. And that's a big part of customer service. Now, if it's a sales rep, you want the sales rep to hit their quota. They need to be a high D most of the time.
Okay.
Right? So, and there's no right or wrong. What I usually tell people is, what type of person do you want? Because remember, again, fit. What type of person are you looking for? We can hire a cinematographer that's a high D. We can hire one that's a high I, one that's a high S, and one that's a high C. They're all gonna do the job, but they're gonna do it in different ways.
Right.
They're gonna do it in different ways. So do you want somebody who's gonna capture all of the shots on a checklist?
Yes.
But now things are out of, the balance is off, it's too much white, like stuff is off, right? That's a high D, right? They're gonna get you, they're gonna check all the boxes, but it might not be exactly the way you want it. Gotcha. A high I is gonna be talking to the person too much and may forget, right? Because the person's gonna give them a raving review,
right? Because
the relationship is there, but you're gonna get it back and be like, you missed this shot and this shot and this shot. And it's like, yeah, well, I was talking to, the high S is gonna take a lot of time to do it. They may not move at the pace you need them to. They're gonna make sure it gets done, but it's gonna take them more time. And the high C is going to not only get it done, they're gonna get it done right. Very meticulous. They're paying attention to every detail, right? But what they may not pay attention to is the relational aspect. Right. Having conversation with a person, like the vibe, what's the energy? You playing music, what's the ambiance? What's the, right? Like, so again, with every gift, there's a blind spot. Right. And when you know that, you know to get one person from every facet because it completes the environment. It completes the team. So you want to have a high D, but you want to have them in the right spot. I always equate it to this. Making somebody fit in a culture that they don't fit into is like trying to go sit in a car and you're trying to squeeze in. Or, like I'm from New York City, so getting on a train and it's packed. and I'm trying to squeeze into a seat.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. Like I got a person here and here. I'm trying to like adjust myself to get in the seat.
Right.
It's different when you go home for Thanksgiving though, and everybody embraces you. Hey, how's it going? Da, 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 da. What do you need? Like what?
Right.
No, right? And there's family to support. Oh, we know him. He ain't gonna do that, or don't let her cook that. She don't. Right.
Right.
The team is embracing you for who you are. The culture is inviting, is warm, versus just fit into this peg. And so when you put a person in a role, as opposed to making the role revolve around the person, you set them up for failure.
You're gonna have to break that down, bro. I understand the concept that
Right.
you just explained, but
So if I put you in a role, right? So let's say if I put you as a sales rep, knowing you're a high C, right? You're going to struggle with hitting a quota because you're going to want to make sure every single call is perfect. You're going to want to study the script. You're going to want to do this and that. But now I need you, we're going to do math. I need you to make 1,000 sales a month. In order to make 1,000 sales, you got to make 10,000 calls a month. But you can't make 10,000 calls because you're trying to make the calls perfect.
right.
You're going to struggle.
But it's a volume thing in that case, and it's not a.
It's not laser surgery. It's math. But if I put a high D, the high D is like, okay, I'm calling. Nope. Okay, cool. Next. Nope. Cool. Next. Nope. Cool. Next. It reminds me of the movie Pursuit of Happiness. Have you ever seen the movie?
Yeah.
Right. So you remember when he had to compete on a stock floor.
Yeah.
You remember when he said, I realized I gained a half a second just by clicking the button and not hanging the phone up. You remember that scene?
Yep.
He gained an advantage by just learning that little adaptation.
Yeah.
He was operating as a high D. If he was trying to follow the sales script, he would have never got that because he would have lost out on the time to execute.
That is. Go ahead.
Now, if I'm a surgeon, well, I need you to be a high C because I need you to be super exact, super precise. A high D, no. Because, yeah, you did the surgery, but you stitched me up wrong. I got a bad scar. Or you went in and you fixed this, but you hurt something else, right? Like, right? So fit is very, very important. The way you do something matters more, matters just as much, if not more, than what you're doing.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. While you were explaining that, I was thinking about how when I first started doing events and stuff, and I started making these recap videos.
Right.
And like, I learned film on YouTube.
Right.
And if you go on YouTube and you look at videos, it's the most beautiful stuff you ever saw. Like, it's dope. It's awesome. Well, that's all it is. And so when I first started making videos for companies, I would make sure that I like got everything perfect, aesthetically, visually perfect. And that word perfect was something that I learned to shift my mindset around, because when I first was asked to do a same day recap video, I was like, it's not gonna be my best work. It's not gonna be my best work because you making a video as the event is going on, you're not getting the best clips, you're not getting the best audio, you're not getting the best of a lot of stuff. Got a lot, and then I'm not able to go through the methodical process that I go through when I'm making a video or whatever. So the first video I made was in Miami for a conference. I wasn't happy with it. Everybody else went nuts about it. And that's when I was like, I wanted it to be perfect for me. But it was perfect for them.
Right.
And that's when I had to like think about it. Like, I need to get to know who I'm serving and what's perfect to them.
Right.
And then do it, and then do that.
It's the same thing when you're communicating, right? If I speak to you in my language, we don't connect because you don't speak my language. But if I speak to you in your language, you go, oh, he gets me, right? And if we have two people speaking in each other's language, now we have the best, right?
Yeah.
We should always be attuning ourselves to the needs of the person that we're serving or the person that we're communicating to. So I know, see, I'm a high D. So I know I'm communicating with you who's a high C. I have to speak slower. I have to unpack. I have to explain, right? Everything changes. But if I'm speaking to somebody else who's a high D, I'm not going into all those details. Oh,
Get
we
to
can,
the point.
we right to the point. We
Get to the point.
right?
Gotcha.
I know if I'm speaking to somebody who's a high I need to be smiling. My body language needs to be inviting. My eyes need to be more open, right?
Yeah.
And so you do that. And again, that was a powerful insight for you because you realized that it wasn't about you. It was about the client that you were serving.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with relationships. This is not about me. How do I make connection with this other person? How do I make this other person feel safe? When you make a person feel safe, they feel understood. When you make a person feel safe, there's nothing they won't do for you. Nothing.
That's powerful.
9 times out of 10, you want things to be perfect because somebody made you feel like what you was doing wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And you said never again.
Yeah.
But imagine if somebody said, hey, that's just what you do. Somebody was projecting their stuff on you and made you feel a way and you changed your whole self. You redesigned a new self based on what that person said. 9 times out of 10, that's what happens to us.
So my question about that would be, it seems like what our disc is heavily influenced by our experience as a child. Is that accurate?
Yeah, the way it informs a lot of a lot of our ways of thinking is established in those first 7 years of life. And then every sort of year, as we grow and develop, it becomes much harder to change that programming, that initial baseline.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's no different than the cameras that you used to shoot. The base camera is what it is. You can add lenses and add filters and add little things and trinkets to it, but you can't change the base or the body.
Right.
Sometimes you need a whole new camera to get a different look. Right? So some of it is our natural makeup. We were just wired a certain way. But a lot of the way that is deployed is based on our lived experience. Words without context don't mean anything. Experiences without context doesn't mean anything.
Right.
So when you marry those two things, you can understand a whole lot about a person. Right? So if I gave you the perspective of, okay, perfectionism doesn't exist, but a spirit of excellence is. You can always embody a spirit of excellence. You'll never be successful at perfection because it doesn't exist.
Right. Yeah, and I've been doing like some brain work. I call it brain work. Adjusting my expectations about because I was talking to my dad about this the other day. I don't believe that perfection exists. I believe that there's like a completion, a complete way to do something. And I'm thankful that like when I'm making a video, I'm able to say, okay, this is good, and at the same time go through that video and pick out parts that could be better. But what I tell myself is, like, given the context of the use of this video, is it good? Like, does it work? And that's really helped me a lot. Because I used to spend a lot of time trying to make videos that we talked about, like planning content, right?
Yep.
And it's impossible, like, making content without starting with a goal and like structuring how it's supposed to look. There's millions of possibilities. Like, if you just pull up, start recording, and then want to put something together. And a perfectionist will attempt to explore all of those possibilities.
On the front end, though.
Yeah. I mean, if you give a perfectionist a bunch of footage and you say, I need you to make me a documentary out of this, that is a rabbit hole out of this world.
Yeah.
Because it's like taking the content and building a script after the fact.
Right.
And so I've had to adjust how I roll in that respect, because perfect for a bunch of content that just got thrown in my lap versus perfect when I am planning it, those are two different things.
So perfect has to be adjustable. It isn't fixed.
Exactly.
It's an adaptable thing.
Exactly.
And that's why context is important. What is perfect for this situation?
Yes. That's a bar.
What fits this? Perfect for me and perfect for you are two different things. Perfect for me looks like getting it done. I don't care how I got it done. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care how people feel about how it, right?
Right.
I'm wired to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Perfect for you is not just getting it done, but it's getting it done right.
Right.
The first time.
Yep.
Right? So somebody's gonna show me, somebody's gonna show me their website, and I'm be like, somebody may show me, yo, I got this video I just shot, yo. I'm like, yo, you executed, bro. That's dope. The video's dope. Whatever. And you like, the white balance is off. He's not centered in the video. There's a delay in the audio a little bit. I'm like, my man got the video out. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
It looks different. And again, like we were talking about before with perspective, that's the beauty of perspective.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of difference, right? It adds something new to the equation. It expands. I don't like stepping out of your comfort zone. You can expand your comfort zone. You can expand your worldview, your perspective. It doesn't change your preference, but it adds more to you.
I understand. That really resonates with me, because I had a conversation with the lady, and I told her that I actually like receiving feedback on. So like I made that recap. I made a different recap video for Dave, and he was like, "Bro, I just really want you to like take your time, like pull out all the," and I think Dave's a high C.
Dave is a high I and a high C.
Yeah.
So he has a unicorn profile like mine, just in the opposite way.
And I appreciate that so much about him, because he notices details that other clients don't.
But bingo. But it's no surprise that he's successful at what he does. People and attention to detail. He's perfect at asking questions. He's genuinely interested in people. Yeah. And he has the precision of a high C. So he's asking questions, and it's calculated, and it's, I'm really curious. I want to know, like, how do you, right?
Yeah.
So you see how the success is there.
Yeah.
You make beautiful videos, imagery, beautiful stories, because you are so thorough, so precise. You care about every piece every bit of equipment, of like everything, posture, cadence, flow. Like you pay attention to all of that. The end product is going to be pristine. Where you're gonna struggle is if I said I need it tomorrow. You go, oh, okay. Well, how do I? Right? Urgency is where you're gonna start to go. I don't like that.
And that's where it just kind of like it helps me to think about what's perfect for the given situation.
Right.
Because now I know, okay, you need it in a day. This is what perfect. I have to understand what perfect looks like.
And you understand by asking questions.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Here's what's the key, right? So I learned how to play chess by learning how to move the pieces and then developing strategy, and the game got more sophisticated. When I teach people chess, the first thing I teach them is what checkmate looks like. I teach people the very first thing, what does checkmate look like? That I want to teach you what success looks like first. Because if I don't show you how to win, when you start playing the game, you'll just be moving pieces all over the place.
Right.
But if I teach you what winning looks like, now when you move the pieces, you're moving the pieces to try to create this scenario.
Yeah. Dang, that's smart, bro.
Right? So with anything, the high D in me is like, okay, what do we need to do? What are we doing? What are we trying to achieve here? Okay, that's what you want? Boom, let's go.
Yeah.
I may not ask him these questions, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
And that's why I'll miss the details sometimes, but that's the strength of mine.
And I think that makes you more creative. So one thing that I noticed about myself, I receive that I'm a creative, but it's not really creativity to me.
It feels like a science.
Exactly. So I can see, I can look, and I can recreate anything. All I need is like inspiration. But because I operate the way that I do, I'm less flexible in terms of improvising, unless I've seen it before, or unless I make a mistake and I stumble upon like a way to do it. But like we were talking about lighting and building sets and stuff like that. I can build any set anywhere, but it's not because I'm creative to me. It's because I understand how stuff has to be to achieve whatever look in any environment.
It has to be a particular way.
Yes.
High C's are like the anchor of reality for everybody else. When people get too high or too away from reality, the C's act as anchors to make people more practical.
That makes sense. Can sometimes be confused with pessimism.
It can be. They're like, man, and I bet you the people that say that are high, they're definitely high eyes.
Probably.
They're definitely high eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Wow. Bro, such a good conversation, man.
Man, I appreciate it. It's definitely been fruitful.
Bro, thank you, man. Thank you.
Nah, thank you for inviting me to your space again. And conversations like this always mean a lot because you're able to sort of connect and learn things and navigate mental space, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes heart space. But like, you walk away from these conversations with soul food.
Facts.
Something that really sticks with you.
Facts, bro. Well, thank you, man. Thank you again, bro.
Appreciate you.
Anything you want to leave for the audience? I don't have everybody has their thing that they do on podcasts, but you know, having a podcast with no name, we're gonna keep it imperfect, you know. But you know, if you want to leave the audience with anything, man, anything encouraging.
My thing is very simple. It's just choose yourself. Choose yourself. You will always fail at being who you're supposed to be. And the only way that you win the one way you can ensure that you never fail is to be exactly who you are. So, I mean, like if anybody is watching this, like the best thing you can do for yourself is to choose yourself and stay true to yourself early, often, and continuously. And do so even when it's not convenient.
That's hard, bro. Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate you, my brother.
Appreciate it. All right, family. We're out. We just had this crazy conversation. We're out of here. As always, I love y'all. Peace.
Peace.